What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be checking out a video from RMTransit, the quintessential rapid transit system, the London Underground explained. Trains and buses are something that are very rare to find in the areas that we grew up in.
Yeah.
And where we currently live. Public transportation in general just isn't something you readily find in a lot of small towns around the US.
Hey folks, welcome back to RMTransit. Welcome to this very special edition of Transit Explained, where I get to cover what may be my favorite metro network in the original railway city, the London Underground. The Underground is special for so many reasons. Its unique technical elements, its intriguing history, the cultural impact, and the beautifully varied locale.
Oh my goodness.
Wait, that's a train station?
Yes. What is Liverpool Street Station? Oh my goodness, guys.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Most of you that have been following along here on the channel for quite some time probably realize just how much I love the architecture over there. We just don't see this kind of old world look here very often. Yeah.
By the way, I just want to say I love the signage to point out like, where the underground stations are, because it's very eye-catching and big. And
yeah, very much so.
Operates. Not to mention the fantastic design. Oh, and it has an incredible 11 lines with 272 stations and has been in operation for over 150 years. I hope that after watching this video, you feel a lot more informed on the Underground, and we don't have much time, so let's dive in.
It says public subway. I didn't even know you guys used the term subway.
I didn't either.
I thought it was always the
tube,
or the underground.
Yeah.
Wow, look at these buildings right here, man. Wow. That's a different looking train than I've seen before. Okay, there seems to be a number of different looking trains here. Whoa, what was that?
I think this is just his intro, so it might not be.
Before we get started, this video is about
Piccadilly.
I already have an explained video on the DLR, and I'll cover far more in future videos.
Look at that train.
Oh, DLR.
DLR, Docklands Light Railway Train. And I don't know.
That's an interesting shape.
Okay, wait, that is UK. Because I started to say, it says train, T-R-E-I-N. I think it's just a misspelling.
Yeah, I don't know. It was on the other ones, too.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
That's interesting. But this is a very unique train. I've never seen a train that looks like this.
Me either.
It's just flat. And is this a door out?
I don't know, but I kind of like it.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Such as these suburban railways, many of which operate like metros in their own right. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss them.
Huge.
Though also do check out my More Than the Tube video. The story of the London Underground really begins with the Metropolitan Railway, which was a commuter railway that originally opened in 1863 and had a tunnel which connected the Northern Railway terminals in London, such as Euston and Paddington, to the city centre, and would become the precursor to modern subway systems.
I'd love to be able to go down there.
Beyond the origin, you really need to know that on the London Underground, like many metro systems, there are more than one type of train. Now I'm going to talk more about the different types of trains and what makes them different later, but for now I'll mainly just talk about the two distinct networks. The first of these networks is the subsurface network, which has its origins directly in the tracks and tunnels of the original Metropolitan Railway.
Oh wow.
There's an interesting dynamic here, whereas in other cities with two distinct networks based on legacy lines, the subsurface lines have a different topology from the deep-level lines. The subsurface lines all share tracks and interline through London's centre, with a loop of tracks being shared by several lines. This is of course highly reminiscent of the Chicago L, albeit with a bigger loop that's mostly underground or in trenches. The first line we should talk about is the Metropolitan line, which has 34 stations over 67 kilometers of track.
What did he say?
34 stations over 67 kilometers of track on this one line. 67 kilometers.
Wait, he's talking about one line?
Yeah, and we're in London. Think about that, 67 kilometers. Guys,
that's pretty cool.
That's wild. How in the world is one track 67 kilometers in London?
That goes pretty far out. Looks like suburbs.
Okay, so this is what I'm wondering, guys. So when it comes to the London Underground, like we're literally talking about how far outside of the city do these trains travel to? Like I'm guessing they're taking people from the suburbs into work and stuff like that.
Back and forth between
Wow.
This line travels from Aldgate in the centre to far west and northwest of London, where several branches exist in what was and is known as Metroland. Lands planned for development by the original Metropolitan Railway on essentially the same model as the Hong Kong MTR. The Metropolitan line is the line which extends the furthest from London.
There's a lot of cameras. Look, Do you see
the
that?
next line is the District Line, which has 60 stations on 64 kilometers of track, the most stations of any line on the network, and an impressive number of stations for any single metro line.
How many?
I don't hear him.
Hold on.
The next line is the District Line, which has 60 stations on 64 kilometers of track, the most stations of any line on the network, and an impressive number of stations for any single metro line. The District Line travels from far east of London in Upminster west through the centre south of the Metropolitan Line, where it then splits into numerous branches which travel north, south, and west. Much like the DLR, a variety of services operate on the District Line, and that's likely the topic of a future video. After that comes the wonderful Circle Line, which, as you may expect, operates the looping route around central London that I referenced earlier, with the northern and eastern sections of the loop being shared with the Metropolitan Line and the southern and western sections being shared with the District Line. The Circle Line basically entirely overlaps other lines on its 36-stop, 27-kilometer route. Unfortunately, for fans of geometry, the Circle Line is no longer an actual circle, and now extends west to Hammersmith, operating more like a rolled-up regular metro line.
Hold on, you see that? Right here? Like, so these are lines right here. So some of the lines cross back onto other lines, but other lines, they would just have to, like, come backwards, basically, to get back from where they started. Right?
Circle, and now extends west to Hammersmith, operating more like a rolled-up regular metro line. Finally, we have the Hammersmith and City Line, which has the distinctive honor of being the least used on the subsurface network. This line has 29 stations over 25 kilometers of track and shares track with other subsurface lines for its entire length, running from Hammersmith in the west with the Circle Line, which it continues with along with the Metropolitan Line from Baker Street to Liverpool Street, where it splits from the Met and the Circle Line to group up with the District Line and then run out east. Now, the subsurface lines with the various branches, services, and interlining all tend to operate individual services on fairly low frequencies, which is a big...
Hold up there, cowboy.
Wait, sounds like someone has something to add here.
There's a few places where the Underground actually shares its tracks. On the District Line from Gunnersbury to Richmond, you can also catch the North London line of the Overground. The line was originally built by a main line company, the London and South Western Railway, back before the concept of the London Underground existed, and so could connect to both the District Railway and the North London Railway. There was a similar situation between East Putney and Wimbledon, where South Western Railway runs occasional trains over the Underground track, and again, that's because this was originally built as part of the London and South Western Railways network. And in northwest London, the Bakerloo line shares the Euston to Watford branch of the Overground from Queen's Park to Harrow and Wealdstone.
Do you see what it says there?
What?
Mind the gap.
Mind the gap.
We've been told before there's a story behind that we need to look into.
Oh, yeah.
If you can give us a refresher of why we should look into that, because...
Mind the gap.
It was something kind of touching and sad, I feel like.
Yeah.
So I'd like to look into it.
I did a little video about the situation at Kew Gardens where I talk about it in more detail. Now I'm off back
Kew Gardens.
Look at that place.
Jay, go away.
We looked at the lights or something at Christmas around Kew Gardens. Or was it? Was
the
it Kew?
second major network consists of the deep-level lines, so named because unlike the subsurface lines, they run deep under central London. These lines first opened several decades after the subsurface lines and are more numerous and generally more heavily used. Their later construction led to different design and planning sensibilities winning out. As such, the deep-level lines do not share track with one another and intersect at various points in central London, something which influenced metros in the Soviet Union in particular. Now, as it turns out, the deep-level lines do share the same track standards as the subsurface lines, which is important because they do share tracks and connect with the other lines in a number of places. The first line on the network was technically the Waterloo and City Line, which utilized its depth to cross under the Thames and now acts as a shuttle between Waterloo and Bank.
Wow, it goes under the river?
Would you do that?
I don't know. I mean,
it'd be a little uncomfortable.
Depends on how long it took.
Like, we've drove underwater over near Virginia Beach and all that area. Yeah, it's a little bit unnerving when you first start trying to go underwater, and driving.
I don't know, just the combination of being hot and also feeling
claustrophobic.
Yeah.
It'd be a bit claustrophobic to begin with. I wonder how long that lasts, though. It can't last that long to go under the river, I wouldn't think.
We're just 2.5 kilometers. Next, we have the Central Line, which is the longest line in the entire system at a whopping 74 kilometers, across which there are 49 stations.
74?
The Central Line
How many
operates from
stations?
Hold up, 70. 74 kilometers.
How many stations?
Oh my goodness. Just appreciate that for a second. That's 74 kilometers.
Yeah,
that's crazy. All right, hold on. We will see this.
Kilometers. Next, we have the Central Line, which is the longest line in the entire system at a whopping 74 kilometers.
That is wild.
Across which there are 49 stations.
49 stations.
The Central Line operates from the west of the city into the center, intersecting the Circle Line midway north-south, before continuing northeast, where it travels up to Epping, with a branch traveling east and then looping back to the Epping leg through small towns and farmland. The Northern Line is the most used line on the whole of the Underground, and is basically two separate lines which come together at 2 points, Camden Town and Kennington. The lines have a total of 52 stations over 58 kilometers of track. The Northern Line has 3 northern branches and 2 large southern ones, one which passes through the main commercial area of the city and another passing through the traditional financial district. The line generally travels in a north-south direction, though somewhat hilariously, it's not actually the line which travels to the northernmost point. It is, however, the line which travels to the southernmost point. Of course, just this year, the Northern Line was extended, with services on the western branch going beyond Kennington to Battersea Power Station
I know Battersea.
and Nine Elms. Now, regarding why the line isn't...
You've never seen that, have you?
Mm-mm.
Battersea Power Station? That is so cool. They took this, like, was it a... I can't remember if it was a coal plant or I can't remember, but they took this, like, I believe it was a coal plant, but I could be wrong in that. And so they got these giant smokestacks, and they created an elevator in one of the smokestacks to go all the way to the top. And then you see it, and as it appears to the top, all of a sudden you look out and you're seeing like just amazing view.
Just split in two, the issue lies in Camden Town. At Kennington, the 2 sections of the Northern Line are isolated, but at Camden Town, a overcrowded station, the services intertwine. And separating them would likely overcrowd the station, which is already dangerously overcrowded, with high transfer volumes. TfL does have plans to sort this out eventually, but until then, I'll be referring to it as the Northern Line. The Bakerloo line is probably my least favorite tube line because I just find it somewhat boring. That said, it has 25 stations across its 23 kilometers of track. The line travels from the northwest of London before cutting straight through the centre, parallel to the Western Northern Line branch, and then continues south of the Thames to terminate at Elephant and Castle. The line I need to talk about next is my favorite tube line, and frankly, one of my favorite transit lines in the world, the Piccadilly line.
Piccadilly!
The Piccadilly line has 53 stations over 70 kilometers of track, and has 2 branches in the west. One serving Uxbridge, which manages to cross the Central Line twice without a good connection, and one serving Heathrow, which converge and pass through the center of the Circle Line before turning north and traveling up to Fosters. Now, the Heathrow branch is particularly interesting because upon opening, it was fairly influential in the metro world.
Okay, so that's fascinating. I mean, look how much billboard advertising is there.
That's true. They're crammed up there.
That is crazy.
Back to back.
Wow. You know, it's just, I don't know, there's something about this I find so interesting. It's like, because I've just never experienced it. It's just like, you're just under here and you're just like, it's just a different world almost. You know what I mean? Knowing that there's all these just tubes everywhere going under the ground.
I'm kind of surprised by how clean it looks.
It does look pretty clean,
I figured it would be dirtier.
I wonder how old this one is.
And I'm surprised also by how close everything is together. Doesn't seem like there's a lot of space to stay back.
Yeah.
Which is particularly interesting because upon opening, it was fairly influential in the metro world. The branch has also been very successful ridership-wise, taking perfect advantage of major reverse peak capacity. Now, interestingly, the Piccadilly line actually shares tracks with both the Metropolitan and District lines from the subsurface network on its Uxbridge branch. The Piccadilly line also shares a corridor with separate tracks from the District line from Acton Town to Earl's Court, where the Piccadilly line runs express, a feature that London does have in a few locations, if not as extensively as New York.
Is that your favorite train look? Just on the surface?
It is really cute.
I had a feeling it would be.
I liked the flat front one too, like the slanted one that we saw.
I thought that was.
The Victoria Line is the second newest line on the London Underground network, opening over 50 years after the last tube line before it in 19.
I believe Victoria Line's got a really nice station.
It's short by tube really nice, with 21 kilometers of track and 16 stations across it. And there's a marvel of design, which was intended to connect various major interchange points on other rail lines.
What's going on up top
traveling
here?
From the northeast to the center and then south of the Thames. Many of these connection points had incredibly engineered cross-platform transfers that I cover in more detail in my dedicated cross-platform transfer video. It's also the only significant tube line, assuming a 2-station shuttle doesn't count as significant, which is entirely underground. The final line in the network and the newest line, first opening in 1979, is the Jubilee line, which has 27 stations on 26 kilometers of track.
Does that have something to do with a Queen's Jubilee?
I don't know, probably.
1979. I'm trying to think, would that... Oh, man, I don't know. Let us know in the comments, guys, if that's the reason that's called Jubilee Line. Did it open a year with the Queen's Jubilee?
Both the Jubilee line and the Victoria lines are incredibly
See how this looks up here? It looks different.
Testament to the power of removing congestion points and connecting hubs.
Scary.
In terms of alignment, the Jubilee line starts northwest of London at Stanmore before traveling south to parallel the Metropolitan line, which operates as an express service, with the Jubilee making all stops, before splitting again around Baker Street, and then traveling southeast through the city centre and crossing the Thames a number of times on the iconic Jubilee line.
Wait, it crosses multiple times?
JLE, which provides...
That'd be cool.
Holy, hold on, yeah, wow.
Service to Canary Wharf, the Greenwich Peninsula, as well as West Ham and Stratford, where the line terminates. The extension opened in 1999 and is noted for its elaborate architecture and its job connecting the Docklands and other previously...
That's beautiful. Wow. That's a beautiful scenery right there.
As a fun bonus fact, traveling between Stratford and Canning Town, the Jubilee line runs express while the DLR plays the role of the local.
3, 4,
now,
4
with
times.
That, we have the entire London Underground network with the subsurface lines and the deep level lines.
Okay, guys, yeah, this is very, very complex.
You can really see in these images just how different the topology of both the subsurface and the deep level lines are. With regard to future lines and extensions, London's main project at the moment is Crossrail, a new cross-city heavy rail line which will operate as rapid transit, not unlike
Crossrail, the Elizabeth line.
Especially with the opening of the Northern Line.
How long is that?
Well, of course, there are many...
Hold on! I wish he had said how long this was going to be, because this looks
massive.
This looks incredible, because the longest was like 79 kilometers?
I don't know if it was 70.
71, 70-some kilometers, and this looks much, much longer than that.
Wow.
Wow.
Unlike the Paris RER, especially with the opening of the Northern Line extension. Well, of course, there are many often talked about extensions.
This one looks very new right here.
I'll leave those to a future video.
That's the Battersea.
Now, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't extremely excited to talk about the rolling stock for this video, because the Underground is really unique. The first thing to discuss is the distinction between the subsurface and deep level lines of the Underground, which primarily comes down to the loading gauge of the train. If you think I should make a video on railway loading gauge, leave a comment down below. Suffice to say, the trains on the deep level lines are much smaller, just around 2.5 meters wide, and
that's the opposite of what I would have thought. Well,
because they were designed to fit into tunnels created with early tunneling shields.
Okay, just appreciate that for a second. Look how...
That's a tight fit.
Yeah, look how tight a fit. Like, so if something happened... Could somebody technically get out? Like, you wouldn't want to, obviously, but if there was a reason to get out...
It does look like it would be hard to...
Well, the doors don't open outward, so they're open, so I guess you could.
No, but I'm saying it would slide out, but you would have to, like, kind of shimmy along the wall.
Yeah, like you have nowhere to walk here.
Ew, I don't like that.
I mean, I'm guessing that never happens.
Never?
Well, I guess it would happen very often.
Bound to happen sometime.
I'm thinking they have to bring someone to tow the train or push it or something in order to, like, bring something out. But... yeah, if you're claustrophobic, I have a feeling this would be a little bit unnerving, the possibility of something like that, because that is tight. That is very, very tight.
It's originated in London, which are the precursor to modern TBMs, giving the system its tube name.
Look at all the wires.
In order to get the circle-like shape, which fills the upper half of a tunnel, a number of unconventional design decisions had to be made. For one, the doors on the trains are actually curved, so watch your head. At the same time, the odd door arrangement, with single doors at the end of each car, is a side effect of the trains, not unlike low-floor trams, having bogies and wheel sets which extend under the longitudinal seats within the carriage. This type of design is really unique for a metro train and means the floor of the train is actually quite low. By comparison, these subsurface trains are substantially larger, at roughly 3 meters wide and with a similar profile to mainline
that's a big difference.
in the UK, which harkens back a bit to Tokyo, I must say. Since the two types of trains are different heights, both to their roof and floor, when sharing platforms, there can be a pretty large vertical gap, which is an accessibility nightmare. This could be solved in some cases with two back-to-back platforms with different heights. Despite the different sizes, as mentioned before, the rails and power system, which consists of two power rails, one between the running rails and one on the side, like a typical third rail, are compatible.
So you have power rails instead of the power on top.
Like a cable or something.
So if someone jumped down there and touched that rail, I mean, like, I'm guessing that's going to be the end.
I didn't even think about that. It's an electrified rail, right? So
yeah.
you touch it kind of like an electric fence.
Which makes me wonder about animals. you know, getting into there and touching those rails and stuff.
Probably doesn't happen super a lot.
Yeah, probably not.
That's evidenced by the interlining seen on the network in a few places. The voltage across these rails is typically 630 volts, although the voltage of the individual rails varies, and in some places it's up to 750 volts for better performance with the newer trains. With that out of the way, let's take a look at all of the rolling stock currently operating on the network, starting with the trains on the subsurface network. These lines use the somewhat boring but entirely charming S-Stock, which comes in two variants known as the S7, which naturally has 7 cars, and the S8, which has 8. The S-Stock has roughly 17-meter-long cars with 3 doors per side, and were manufactured by Bombardier with the first introduction in 2010. The S8 stock operates on the Metropolitan line, while the S7 stock operates on the Hammersmith and City, Circle, and District lines. Both train types are fully interlinked with open gangways, and have higher than normal top speeds to take advantage of longer interstation gaps. The deep-level lines have a much more varied roster of trains, which are given names based on the development year, while the subsurface lines, well, they get a letter. The 1972 stock is used on the Bakerloo line and features 7-car trains with roughly 16-meter cars that have 2 single doors and 2 double doors per car. These trains were manufactured by Metro Camel, who you may remember also made a lot of the rolling stock for the Hong Kong MTR. A few years later, the 1973 stock was introduced on the Piccadilly line.
I like that one.
These trains feature 6 cars with roughly 17 meters per car and look slightly nicer than the 1972 stock. And
hold up. Is this all wiring?
Oh my goodness.
Are you serious? Is it? I think it looks like it. What are they power? Is this part of the train network, or is this something completely different?
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
If it's wiring for the train, that is wild.
Were also built by Metro Camel. The 1992 stock operates on the Waterloo and City line in a 4-car configuration, and the Central line in an 8-car configuration of roughly 16-meter-long cars. While the door arrangement was similar to earlier deep-level trains, these trains utilized external sliding doors. Manufacturing was done by a company which, by a shocking number of acquisitions and divestments, was part of Bombardier, before it was acquired by Alstom. 1995 and 1996 stock are in many non-technical ways similar, technical being things like drive units and suspension. The 1995 stock came in 6-car sets and operate on the Northern line, while the 1996 stock came in 7-car sets and operate on the Jubilee line. I feel like they all
look pretty similar.
You know,
really.
I mean, they do to a certain extent. There's just small details that have changed. Variation. But, you know, when I was looking at this, I'm like, this is so close. It's amazing, like, how they're able to be that close, right?
Yeah, that's true. Like, right up on the...
But obviously you'd want that because otherwise someone would slip their foot down in there and they would get stuck or whatever, so you'd have to have it close.
While the 1996 stock came in 7-car sets and operate on the Jubilee line. Worth mentioning, the Jubilee line sets were actually retroactively extended. Both models feature roughly 18-meter cars and were manufactured by a consortium of Alstom and Metro Camel. The 2009 stock operate on the Victoria line and were manufactured by Bombardier. Trains are 8 cars long, with each car being 16.5 meters long. These trains probably have my least favorite design, which is saying something given I tend to dislike older train models. I just can't get over the raised portion of the front fascia, which reminds me of the M8 rolling stock on Metro North in the New York area. Now, while a lot of London's rolling stock is pretty new or middle-aged, the trains on the Bakerloo and Piccadilly line are nearly 50 years old, and hence they are being replaced with the catchily named New Tube for London trains.
These trains
will be very different from existing deep-level trains and will be made by Siemens. They probably deserve a video of their own, so leave a comment for that. Plans call for them to arrive in the mid-2020s. Now, while the rolling stock of the tube is fascinating, entire careers have been made talking about interesting facts about them.
Do you see that there?
I'll try to summarize here, but
great.
It will really
that is wild.
The underground uses a blend of different types of signaling, with significant ATC or CBTC deployment across the network. This enables platform screen doors, but they only exist at a few stations on the Jubilee line extension.
Hold up. That is blocking the entire, like, train itself, except for the doors. You notice that? Maybe it's a safety mechanism, you know?
Which don't actually align all that well because of the type of signaling used. That said, they're protected for on the Northern Line extension. Crazy that the extensions are so infrequent. This looks like a very modern one. I think this is at the Battersea Power Station again. There's also the 4LM project, which is progressively converting the entire subsurface network to CBTC, albeit with many delays in the process. This is likely the largest resignaling project currently happening in the world and is extremely important and complicated because of the intricacy and interlining of the subsurface network. Partially owing to investments into signaling and infrastructure reliability, the London Underground actually operates weekend 24-hour service, which is still fairly uncommon for a metro, but a very nice change from the earlier closing times around midnight. The Waterloo and City line doesn't have a track connection to any other line, and so when trains need to be delivered or changed out, they are removed from a shaft by a crane. Another surprising fact, most of the London Underground is actually above ground, be it in cuttings or on embankments or in rail corridors. Fairly well known, parts of certain stations were previously used as air raid shelters, a feature which is surprisingly common in metro systems around the world. The London Underground has an incredibly high cost recovery, where fare revenue covers a large portion of operations. This can be attributed to high fares, especially when traveling through the central zones, as well as efficient operations. The entire network has had trains operated by one employee for over a decade. Given the subsurface network's history with the Metropolitan Railway, parts of it actually originally operated with steam trains, which is part of the reason for certain design decisions and frequent open sections on the subsurface network.
Oh, that is so cool.
It's such a work of art.
Can you imagine, though, steam trains down there?
Underground?
Yeah.
It's going to change.
That would be hot and moist. My goodness.
These sections
that is so cool, man. I love the look of that train.
Board, where it wouldn't clog up the tunnels quite as badly, but it was an imperfect system to say the least. That said, while steam trains fortunately no longer operate on the network, air quality on the tube is still notoriously bad, especially on the poorly ventilated deep-level tube lines. This is exacerbated by the heat in the tunnels, which has kept the deep-level tube lines from having AC thus far. Modern transit wayfinding also wouldn't exist without London, whose tube map, originating from designer Henry Beck, has influenced almost every rail map and map made since. I've mentioned before how some systems, like the Montreal Metro and older sections of the New York subway, use hills at stations to act as a form of regenerative braking, trading speed for elevation. This is actually a feature seen on a number of sections of the tube. There are many stations on the London Underground, such as on the outer parts of the Metropolitan line, that receive very infrequent service for a metro because of the low ridership and numerous branches on the system. This shows some of the connections between the current Underground and older mainline railways. Also somewhat unusual for a metro system, some stations on the London Underground require selective door opening, which is where part of the train sits off the platform and doors on only some cars open. Now, beyond all the crazy unique features, there are also a lot of elements of the Underground that I simply love. These include the London Underground originating many technologies that inspired other systems, from tunneling to modern wayfinding and everything in between. Without London, we wouldn't have metros as we know them today. You're never more than a few minutes walk from a station, and thanks to the Piccadilly, you can even start a British or European vacation with a ride on the tube.
Yeah,
perhaps more than most metros, London has giant interconnected stations. This has to do with the way the network came together, sometimes with extensive planning and sometimes with little at all. That said, few systems have stations quite as gargantuan and maze-like as London. Of course, as I mentioned before, most of the system is above ground, and this is a wonderful antidote to claims that rapid transit belongs underground, or that you can't have a high-quality rapid transit system without tunnels, because London certainly does. London's underground infrastructure is legendary, with the train running tunnels for existing and abandoned tube and mainline railways, pedestrian and station walkways, and elevator and escalator shafts. The ground in central London would look a lot like Swiss cheese if you could take a slice. Most importantly of all, though, I'd argue London originated the concept of rail mass transit, and in the process changed the world. The speed and comfort of modern cities would not be possible without it, and for this, we all owe London a debt of gratitude.
That's amazing. I didn't realize that pretty much all the other
train systems around the world
this stemmed from inspiration from this one.
I definitely want to check out more about trains in general. I want to see some more train stations. We really haven't, we've checked out some of the smaller train stations around some of these, what do they call those lines? Heritage lines. And they're like these small train stations, and they're beautiful and they're very interesting. They're quirky sometimes. And there's like these train stations that no one's really at very often, it seems like.
Yeah, we did see a couple videos.
Yeah. And I thought that was really fascinating, but I'd love to look at some of these massive train stations that are in London. I'm sure there's a number in Liverpool and Birmingham and other bigger cities as well, Glasgow, Edinburgh. I mean, Cardiff. I bet they all have like massive train stations. Anyways, guys, let us know in the comments what you think we should check out next. But I think that's it for us today. Thank you so much for stopping by. Please click that like button. Feel free to drop your comments or suggestions about this video or others. And don't forget to subscribe to continue to follow us on our journey. Until next time, peace.
Bye.